This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News, news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
We All Be is honored to have on the one and only 2013 We All Be Artivist Lifetime Achievement Award honoree, Brother Reverend C.T. Vivian. How are you doing today, sir?
Fine. How are you, my friend?
That's excellent. And I was going to call you because there's a lot of buzz going around. I know a lot of people have been enjoying the movie Selma, which is based on y'all famous march y'all did from Selma to Montgomery back in 1965.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you one of the stars of that story as well as the movie. And also, I know that Oprah has recently honored you and others the Legends Who Paved the Way awards, which came on TV this past weekend over Dr. King holiday. And I just want to get your insights on everything. How you doing?
Sure. Fine. I've been on the road for the last week, and I got back home, and I was just sitting here reading a book, and I'm glad you called.
Yes, sir. It's an honor because you've been on my mind. You're one of the first people I thought of, and I mean, you're 90 years young, which is incredible, and this event that people are not talking about happened 50 years ago. And I want to ask you, I mean, how was it looking at your narrative on the screen? How was that looking at the story?
Oprah is such a wonderful person. She had had paid to bring us all down to Selma some time ago when they were making the film to meet each one of the persons that were playing our parts. And so I met them, and they had met me, and we had a good time together, just meeting and knowing each other and going over some of the things that we had done or that was going to be in the film.
That's good too. I had hands-on, telling people how it was and stuff like that. So you had a lot of input into the film.
Yeah, in fact, well, yes and no. I mean, we really didn't have much overall input, but we all did meet each other and talk.
So when was the first time you saw the film? And after completion, when was the first time you saw the film once it was completed?
Thought of. What's the first time what?
You saw the film, like when it was completed. When was the first time you saw the complete film?
Saw the complete film. Oprah was here. Oprah was again. She had a group, one of the directors, to come down here to Atlanta and paid for a small theater for us to be in, just to watch the film, to see what we thought.
And so what was your thoughts once you saw it? Like, what was your thoughts?
Well, my first thing is that this was a good film, and I say film because it caused us to feel everything that the movement was about, and that's what I thought as a film it should do, and it did. It wasn't like the exact things that happened, but it caught the feeling of everything that happened. And that's what a film should do. There are people who are complaining because they were there and they knew that it didn't happen that way and it didn't happen this way. Of course not. You're not trying to do an exact likeness of the whole time. Film lasts about an hour and a half.
Right.
And that's and you have to and it costs tremendously to make a film. So you have to you don't think of doing a film in the same way you do just like we are talking today to talk about exactly how it was. We're talking about how does one actually get the feeling of a film over. That's what a movie is. And it doesn't have to be exactly like it happened. For instance, the part, since we're talking about me, is that the part that I was playing with Sheriff Clark.
Right.
That's what they had with Clark. They showed him coming out of a building that was as the size of all of Selma, and he had a hat on like he shows up in every now and then because he was always rather showy. And he looked the part, but he comes through the crowd just hitting people, right? You remember? And that's not what happened at all. But it gave you the feeling, here's this huge building, there's this huge guy, and he's just beating people at the club. Well, the interpretation would be right, though, is that that's the way he ran Selma. And that's the way he, and for years had done that. It wasn't just like it was a day or just like for us. He was, that's the way he lived. That's the way he ruled things. He was that kind of a sheriff. Now that's different than what we really did. There wasn't anything that size, but what it did was to show that here, this is what happened. Here's a man who was running a town and beating people down, but it wasn't anything like that. Like exactly the film, but it portrayed the idea.
Yeah, I was wondering, I was hoping actually that they would show the scene with you and Sheriff Clark, that famous confrontation you had with him. Yeah, I thought that would be included in the film. I was disappointed. That was only one of the few disappointments, actually. I really enjoyed the film, but I wish they had showed that scene.
Yeah, I every person I talk to that knows anything about the real thing were disappointed. They
you have a lot of fans out there.
Yeah, that's and they were disappointed. People called me and said, "You weren't in the film, were you?" And I said, "Well, there's a fellow that's playing my part that was in the film," and but they were disappointed because they didn't hear me really talking to Clark, but mainly because he knocked me down and I got up.
Right.
One of the things that's wrong with the film is that we don't see really the interaction between the person and the situation. A part of that is because the sons and the family got in the way, and they were going to charge big time money if Martin's name was called, or if you really showed him and his very verbiage, just like when he talked at the church.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we all know the church there is not like the church in Selma, or any small town church, right?
Right.
And when he preached, that was not a sermon that he ever preached, or that was he never preached that, or those were never his words, and we didn't get the greatness of Martin in the film like it should have been, like it was in fact. But it was a good film. You see, one has to think about that. It was a good film. It wasn't anything like the real action, but it was a meaningful film. And I loved the part that Oprah played. It was just very, very good. Because Oprah was such a good actress. You have to realize what you're looking at.
Yes, sir. I also want to ask you as well, like, speaking of the film, I know people are in outrage because I guess what you're telling me is that you should look at a movie as being a history lesson, as being in terms of being accurate, but also I want to get your thoughts about the criticism concerning LBJ portrayal. What are your thoughts about that?
No, what it's really saying is that you don't think of it as an exact kind of action. It's the overall. For instance, too many people were running away and running up and down, running here and running there. Nonviolent people didn't run like that. We stood and dealt with whoever and whatever, and but we don't have that as shown as many of us thought it should be.
Got you.
We want to see nonviolence properly portrayed as we did it. For instance, when Short Clark knocked me down, I got up and talked right back to him. That had never nothing in the film does that, does it anywhere near properly. It wasn't properly done. I'm just waking up, so I'm not talking very well. But that's but a film is expected to be quite different.
Actually, this, I know people have been wondering as well, is this a film about the movement or is it a film about Martin? What's your opinion on that? Is it about biopic or is it a different thing?
You can't do a film on the movement without Martin. Martin is the movement. Martin at every step and all the way, and the planning and so forth. Everything that was involved was Martin. We could not have had a movement without Martin King. Not a movement that anybody wants to see.
That's interesting. So, how would this rate in terms of the films you've seen on the movement? I mean, in your opinion, do you have
see, there haven't been films on the movement. There have not been theatrical films on the movement. You see, this was the first important one that we had most all of us being portrayed.
Right. It's interesting in itself. I mean, I was just thinking about today and yesterday, and I was thinking about the film American Sniper. They said it made almost $100 million this past weekend. And I think Selma, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, made $11 million this weekend. Even though getting a lot of push and stuff like that, it seemed like I kept on thinking about what Martin Luther King said, to paraphrase him, the government is the greatest purveyor of violence on the planet.
Yeah.
And our culture worships balance, it seems. Like we worship that. So to have a movie like Selma be made in the first place is kind of like a miracle, so to speak, in terms of the situation we, exist in right now.
Yeah, in fact, actually, we didn't make the kind of money that a regular film makes. That's why there hasn't been films on the movement. Because you can't make the kind of money it takes to make a great and important film. You see what I mean? Is that not enough people come? Well, black people show up, but white people don't. The real money has to be taken into consideration anytime a film is made. And they are very expensive to make. So that we haven't had $1 million films. But after the success of this one, we're going to have other films made about the movement. I feel pretty certain of that.
I definitely. Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
No, and that's at least at least I hope so.
Well, I think you are correct, and also I think that the playing field has some type of leverage to it in terms of the technology. Like, for example, about a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago, a movie won the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature. It's called Searching for Sugar Man. And the guy, he's from South Africa. He basically did most of the movie on his cell phone, using the apps and stuff. So what I'm thinking is that we're going to have to start getting smart. Like, we got to start, channeling that Oscar Michelle spirit of being able to do things on really a shoestring budget. We could do great things on a shoestring budget. Y'all made a movement happen on a shoestring budget. We did some great things as black people on a shoestring budget or a non-existent shoestring.
Yeah, and have in the past.
Yeah.
And we're likely not to have major films. And as you said, that was what kind of film? The one you had been talking about.
American Sniper?
Yeah. The American Sniper was actually a film.
Right.
It wasn't a historic one. It was not made like the real thing. It was made. It wasn't a film of a real event that had passed.
Actually, it was based on the sniper guy, the Chris Cal. It was based on his memoirs.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was based on his memoirs. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
It wasn't really. I did not think it was as real as the real scene had been. I didn't, but I didn't know the film. No, nor did I know, and I had not read the book.
But what it is, like, you think a lot has to do with the media, like, not educating people about the history, and that being more recent, memory in terms of the Iraq War, and also just the nature of the culture being very valid, our culture.
And think how many people was actually in that war. That you had millions of people in that war, but only a few people played the part.
Yes, sir.
But if I'm halfway right about it,
I mean, yeah, you make great points, and also I want to ask you this as well. I mean, you being one of the legends of the movement, being one of the strategists and the organizers, and in the words of Dr. King, the best preacher you ever heard, I want to get your thoughts about what has went on last year in terms of Ferguson and the Hands Up, Don't Shoot movement, the Black Lives Matter movement. I know people, even Oprah has said that the movement lacks leadership or lacks, anything in terms of like actual objective. And what are your thoughts about the movement that's taking place in this country with the young people And just anything you have to offer in terms of insight.
Had the what?
What are your insights into this movement, or what's going on right now in the country?
Oh yeah. Well, now that's something one has to really take into consideration. Is that when I saw the young people with their hands up, portraying nonviolence, and they were lying down together, and when I saw that happen in New York, I knew that we're going to have more and more and more, because we're going to see more people stand up on this issue than we ever thought we would see. We didn't see how do you face off with police? You face off nonviolently. See, this is the important thing, was that the movie was about nonviolence in the world. And this is what we've been seeing, nonviolence. People lying down in the street and refusing to move. When we see this thing in Missouri, we know that all they do is be watching it day after day, and you would know that they were just showing off, and they were trying to act as though that they were better than they are. For instance, they left a car out in the street. They said they were going to be there in the middle of the afternoon. They didn't. The police didn't come in the middle of the afternoon. There was not the action. They planted a car where it could be easily burned as soon as it got dark. When you think about that was just all, and they hid the guy and didn't let him come out. They should have forced him out. You see what I mean? But there was no way to do that, and you could tell that the so-called jury, the way that was done, you knew they had no intentions of telling the truth or doing anything to police as a result of police killing people.
Wow, so you've seen all this play out before. I know you're from Missouri as well, correct? You from Missouri?
Yeah, yeah.
So you understand the mentality of that particular type of element. So you understand the mentality of that system of Missouri way of doing things.
No, I understand. No, I left Missouri very early. And the town that I was in during my youth was a good town. It was nothing like that, and it was in the north. And it was. I loved going to my school. I loved the people in my town in Macomb, Illinois.
Okay.
You see what I mean? Because there was none of that kind of stuff that you see on the film in St. Louis or outside of St. Louis.
Yeah, I went to Ferguson several times. I actually went to college up in St. Louis, and I'm familiar with the area. I went to Ferguson a couple of times this past summer to cover things, including the funeral of Mike Brown. And it was amazing. I know what they were showing on TV about people being unorganized, but the grassroots, the local people there, they were organized. They were disciplined. But the problem is that when I talk about the civil rights movement, when this lady reminded me of Fannie Lou Hamer, a lot of these folks didn't know who these people were, or didn't know, the organizations from back then. And I'm saying we make a mistake now. You know, we got all the energy. We got all the folks hyped up in the streets, but they don't have an understanding of history or knowledge of self.
Yeah.
They don't know what came before, the strategies y'all use, because y'all was using strategy. Y'all wasn't just out there just to be out there. Y'all was actually trying to achieve an objective.
Yeah.
I don't really know they have an objective in mind to achieve.
Yeah. In fact, we have to know that it's our fault that we haven't taught our kids. It's our fault that we haven't taught the history of Black America in the first place, and we have not taught. And and if you're going to somebody else's schools, they're not going to tell you.
Yeah, but I just look at that Nashville movement y'all had. You and Diane Nash and James Bevel and Lawson and all you guys.
Yeah.
What y'all was able to do, y'all was able to break that town down in 21 days.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I mean, why are we getting it wrong here? Why we can't do the same thing y'all did? Why we can't get it right this time around, 50-something years later? Why we can't understand those lessons of how to do it? And y'all did it in a non-violent nature. Y'all was disciplined.
Yeah, in fact, it's a matter of, do you know your nonviolence? Nashville, that's the Nashville movement was a great contribution to everything that would come afterward. We taught young people, college students, not just anybody, right? College students learned, and for the basic year, they learned nonviolent direct action. And so Martin King, when he had first heard about nonviolence in a meaningful way, he went and bought several books on it while he was in seminary. And that's the thing that you also have to see, we were all trained in nonviolence. And so we were how we acted taught the rest of the world how to do it. The rest of the college students how to do it.
And speaking of college students, I'm thinking about Snick as you talking, and I'm thinking about how in the movie Selma, how they portrayed the friction between Snick and the SCLC.
Yeah.
Was it really that bad, the friction?
Yeah. Well, that's what happened. John Lewis represented and was the president of the student movement, right? He had learned how to do nonviolence and think nonviolently and act nonviolently in Nashville.
Right.
See, and Jim Lawson was teaching them nonviolence, and he had learned in India. See, that's a quite different thing than most would have. But and it was almost a year that Jim was teaching nonviolence. So when they came out and was on the buses, they were well trained.
That's right.
And that's most important, is that, and everybody started to learning nonviolence after us, except Snick. Snick's leadership, after John left, Snick's leadership didn't want to be nonviolent, and somebody like Stokely just mouthed a lot, but when it came down to facing things, he didn't face anything. In fact, he left the country. You got to think about that. I mean, and his speeches were violent speeches, but he knew better than to be violent himself. You see what I mean?
Yes, sir. What about Foreman? How Foreman was portrayed? Like, was that accurate? His aversion to SCLC way of doing things in the movie. The guy who played Jim Foreman.
Not Foreman. You mean Foreman is who you mean.
Foreman. Yeah, James Foreman. Was it James or Jim Foreman?
James Foreman. He represented, and he was in the film representing that kind of stuff. And if you notice, the only time you saw them with any great number of people, they would come in and almost sneak into standing with Martin. And Stokely had said something about we will take their movement from them. You see, what he meant was he was going to try to be a big shot by being with Martin, but they made fun of him. The guys like Stokely made fun of Martin, the Lord, right? No,
right.
And he was the Lord of the real movement. That's what made things happen. And they couldn't even come close to being Martin. Martin King was not only brilliant but courageous. And set for the long run.
Well, actually, because you knew him better than most people. What was his greatest strength? Was he an organizer? Was he just an orator? What was his greatest strength to the movement?
He had all of them. He had more than one strength. But if you're talking about his greatest strength was leadership. All right, and and speaking was a part of being a leader. His greatest strength was that he could lead everybody because he had the words. He had the understandings. He understood what he was doing, and you could trust Martin King. See, you have to have leadership. You don't just walk around bragging and hollering and nonsense, right? People have to trust you. This is why in Montgomery, the people chose him as their leader. He didn't come running when Mrs. What's her name?
Rosa Parks, or
and when Mrs. Parks got off the bus and all that, Martin didn't come running saying, "Oh, I'm your leader. I will lead you," all that sort of thing. Give me a point. There are those that like to play that game, right? But Martin didn't. In fact, Martin was chosen by the people because they trusted him. They saw that this was a full man, and he wasn't nonsensical, and that he had a method, and that he was willing to stand before people and stand up before the police and the authorities. It was like the New Testament. People trusted Jesus because why? He was real, and he was willing to suffer for what he was was doing.
Did a lot of people understand the sacrifices he was making at the time? You feel like the people he was trying to serve?
They understood that Martin was trying to serve.
Yeah, did they understand the sacrifices?
I mean, listen. When people in your community are beaten day after day after day, when a policeman would shoot or beat people anytime they wanted to. You have to know when somebody is willing to stand up in front of and tell the story, talk it out, deal with it, train people. You know what chance they're taking. And you see, one of the great things about Martin King, he didn't have to do any of it. He didn't. Here he was with a PhD in philosophical theology. Didn't have to do anything. He could have just talked about stuff and let it go at that. He didn't have to take a risk of his life. But he loved us. He loved us. See, that's why he was out there taking a chance on being killed. Because he loved us. He didn't have to. He had an excellent education. All he had to do was to win to do what he did in Montgomery at the beginning, win in Montgomery. Yes, and for the rest of his life, he could have been run around talking about nonviolence and going across the world and people. In fact, he was offered about 3 times what any black church at that time could pay him if he would just come to their town and be their pastor, a white church in New York.
The name of the church?
Huh? No, I don't have.
Okay.
But that's all he would have had to done. Is that? But he wasn't going to be that kind of person. He knew this was what he wanted to do. This was a chance to free black people. This was a chance to free this nation from its racism. And he was willing to die for it. And had he not been, you would know it.
Yes, sir. I want to ask you too about people trying to humanize Dr. King. As they used to joke and call him the Lord, the Slick. But over the recent years, people trying to reveal or expose some of his frailties. And yet he still remains relevant.
Now, listen to how you said that. You said to his frailties. How do you know that he had any frailties?
I'm assuming he was human.
Huh?
I'm assuming he was a human being. Yeah, you're right. I'm assuming.
But this is the kind of stuff that makes it impossible. Oh, but we knew he was a human being. Which means what? No, what it really means to you is that he was just going around with women and drinking beer and liquor, and because he's got a frailty, must have a frailty. Do you really know that?
I don't know that. No, sir.
That's my point. So don't you? But the way you stated it, as though he was human and he has frailties, and boy, a guy like that, everybody would want, and so he would want all the women he could get, and he would want. That's what the enemy does to our leadership.
Yes, sir.
Because they got the news papers, and they own everything. They own this press. They own everything.
Yes, sir.
And so they can just use stuff like that and destroy all of us. But you notice the world wouldn't stand for it. They saw what the man was doing. And what they saw him doing daily. He didn't have to do any of it. But he loved us, so he put up with all of it.
That's well said. And also, my concern is this: like you talk about the media, And I remember they had a trial here in Memphis back in 1999 that proved that the government, I guess the jury said that the government was complicit in the assassination of Dr. King. Do you think people would ever accept that as a whole? Like, do you think it will ever get a lot of play, that people understand that there was other elements involved in the removal of this great man? Because this... I'm sorry.
Yes. In fact, you start off with understanding that the public tries to kill anybody that goes against racism. See, racism is what they love because it's white. It plays to their whiteness. And since they put the whole system together, they don't want it broken down.
That's right.
See, but the world did. So they had to start doing it right. But it was white privilege they want. That's what the average white guy in the street had wanted. But that's changed. I was at a church. No, I wasn't. I was at a college just day before yesterday, and they so I said I said something that really meant that white people are racist, and one woman put up her hand. And she says, I don't see that. I don't find that. She said, there are white racists out there, a lot of them. But the way you said it is though you're blaming us for every racist out there. And she was right. I was going overboard. Because we couldn't have elected Obama by ourselves. And look who voted for him. Iowa was the first one. That's when we began to believe he could win.
That's true. I remember that. I remember that the black folks were going for Hillary. Everybody they couldn't believe the guy could do it.
That's exactly right. Until Iowa, a state with only 3% black people.
Yes, sir.
That's all. It's black people in Iowa. 3% in the state, right? And they voted for him. They called me the morning before and said, "This one's for you." And I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "We're going to win. We're going to vote for because I'd done so many workshops for about 20 years in that town, anti-racism workshops, and they were saying we are going to win for Obama." Look, I was there the year before in Illinois, going up and down the state giving Martin speeches, right? And just a moment. And I found that everybody, because I was going up and down the state, right? And because I had a lot of people that wanted me to come and give King speeches, and so these guys, all these white guys, Texans, and they would say they were talking about this guy Obama. I hadn't even heard of Obama. All right, I hadn't even heard, and they were deciding whether they said, "Man, he's good." I mean, that he's, in the way he talks, he's going to do something good for average people. And I didn't know who Obama was. I hadn't heard anybody named Obama. And it sounded almost like a fun name, right? But they were talking about him as though he was some sort of god, and quite different than anybody white, any groups of white people. It was group after group. And they were talking about Obama. So here is a guy that could be president. But he was running for
Senate, or was it
for the Senate?
Mm-hmm.
He was running for the Senate, and I wondered who this guy was. I wasn't saying nothing, but I was, because I was thankful. If they're talking about a black guy, I don't care what his name is, I'm gonna be with him if we can elect him. Because anytime anybody, like when Jesse ran for president,
mm-hmm.
I left my job for doing workshops and so forth, which was what my job was, right? And that's what I did. So I gave it up and just and became a part of Jesse's staff.
Mm.
And in fact, I got Jesse in the movement in the first place. But the point being is that wasn't it. Here was a guy courageous enough and had had enough backing and could raise enough money to run for president, and he's black, and I'm not going to back him. That'd be something wrong with me.
Yes, sir.
All right, is that I'm going to back him regardless, and I. In fact, as you say, black women were going to vote for
Hillary.
Hillary because after all, man, we need a black woman to run for a woman, not a black woman, a woman to run, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and all these women, all these black women, sharp black women, like, people who were in movement and so forth were talking like that.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, a lawyer who was proven over and over again that she was a black woman who believed in black people and et cetera, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, you're going to vote for Hillary? And they said, yes. This woman was saying, yes, she thinks she is. I said, do you know what it would do for black America if we had a black black man who would come close to being president? Do you know what that would mean for all of us? Do you know what that would mean if he won and his wife would be the most powerful black woman in the nation? Doc, I met her a couple months later after the election.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, who'd you vote for? She said, Obama. And I said, why did you do that? and she pointed at me. She didn't even want to say it because she knew she pointed at me to let me know, yes, she did, and she worked for him.
Oh, wow, there you go.
Oh, yeah, she was the kind of woman that, oh, man, you just know, that woman was from Selma.
Oh, wow.
And was a leader, the leader legally. She and her legal firm, she had graduated from Harvard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she thought about the possibility that a black woman could be could be the wife of the president.
There you go.
See, that's powerful, Doctor.
Mm.
And what that would do to all of us. You're talking about helping. You didn't have to be president. if you're just the wife of, right?
Mm.
And it happened. And because he didn't marry a dummy, he wouldn't have been who he was, right?
Right.
And she's been out there on the road doing it, Doc.
Mm.
She's making certain that she was persuading people and been doing it all the time he's been president.
I mean, we 2 terms in already. I mean, we just 2 terms in. He just did the 7 million.
You can't. You noticed him last night.
Mm-hmm.
Last night he said, "Yeah, I know because I was both of them. I was there for both of them."
Mm-hmm.
And the whole crowd laughed because they knew. Yeah, see, because the Republicans are walking around and talking about who they are and how good they are, and et cetera, and trying to play off that he did what he did. Nobody answered after that, though. He was letting them know that, oh yeah, I know what's gotten done, that and how bad things were under the guy was running for president before.
Oh, the Bush.
Bush. I remember. Boy, this is on my. I mean, I can just. This is really imprinted on my mind. I remember when Obama went to see Bush right after winning, and Bush told him, "Oh, you can have it right now if you want to." he was sick of it. He said, "You can have it right now." He's tired of trying to be. He was doing his best and had all the backing and so forth that he had. But he was willing to give it up right quick.
I heard that. One thing about Obama, he won the great. I mean, he's in the top 5 already, as far as I'm concerned. In terms of president, I mean, they can't argue with that.
That's exactly right. and he figured out how to beat him too.
Yeah, I mean,
he figured the strategy that got him in was not somebody else. It was his strategy.
Mm. But they don't want to give him credit for anything, though. You should notice how they do it. They don't give him credit for anything.
That's it. See,
and they don't let the people know all the stuff he actually done.
Yeah, that's it. They don't see. They're trying to take credit for every advancement he does. They're trying to take credit for it, and they didn't even have a strategy for it.
Exactly. Mm.
Much less win it.
Yes, sir. I want to ask you this, because I saw it on TV. How good was it to be on that weekend of the Oprah, the Legend that Paved the Way? How good of a weekend was that?
Oh, it was. It was.
It was great.
Let me tell you, she uses her money to help people, and she liked that film. She didn't have to try to make a film that was going to lose money, but she wanted us to have a film, right? She didn't have to do any of it. All she has to do is keep $1 billion back. But she is really, now remember when Obama ran, she was one of the first people to back him. Right. Remember? Listen, her Sunday programs. She's on TV on her
network.
Every Sunday.
Super Soul Sunday or something.
Every Sunday morning. And I'm a minister, and I've missed a lot of church meetings because I wanted to hear the people she has put on. But I have made a lot of church stuff too. I mean, I can see her a couple of times on Sunday.
Yes, sir.
Because they replay the same stuff, and so I don't, go to every Sunday. But I mean, I've told her about it, and she's just happy that I cared when she first started doing the
network.
And she was happy about it because every now and then we'd run into each other.
Oh wow!
She's just a marvelous human being, and is willing to spend the money, willing to spend the time, willing to act it out, whatever talent she has. She's willing to use it to as I said, there was no real black films that was, that you could put alongside. I mean, that we had too many films that we had looking bad. Everything was, but she did it so that that you could see what white people have done to us. And that's all a part of winning the story. It's just like I was telling you about the student. I'd overdone it. And I know it because I was wrong. You got to admit when you're wrong, and you got to admit when you're good.
Yes, sir.
You got to stand up for. And when that is she. She will make certain that everything is good that's good and everything's bad is bad.
Yeah, definitely. And I also want to ask you. I know I'm wrapping it up. We lost a lot of people last year.
We've been at it for...
I really enjoyed it. I just don't want to take advantage, man, because you got so much information. You're such an inspiration.
Right. I really got stuff to do.
Yeah. I want to ask you, man, we lost Vincent Harding last year.
Oh, yeah.
We also lost Marion Berry. I just want to get your take on those two, if you can.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen. Berry was a part of Nashville movement.
Right.
In fact, when we went to jail, that's when he became head of the movement in Nashville. Barry had that spirit once he got into it, because he was a chemistry major, right?
Right.
He wasn't but when he got into it, he went home during Christmas vacation and took some kids down to the library. As I said to you right beforehand, that Marion was a chemistry major, and he was not involved in the movement at the beginning. But when we went to jail, we asked him to take over a good part of the leadership, and he did that. But he also, during Christmas vacation, he went home to Memphis and found out that the library was segregated. In fact, and so the public library, and he was concerned about opening that up, and I think it was as much a way of teaching the students as anything else, and to make them aware of the kind of racism that was going on in their town, as well country. So he took a group of kids to the library and found out that they couldn't check books out. And so he then organized them to carry out that kind of work, and they were arrested. And then, as a result of that, we came from Nashville to be involved in thinking it through, doing it through. In fact, a number of the lawyers in Memphis joined in the effort to organize it and get it done, and in that way, they began to do what Martin had done in Montgomery, and that was very important because we met in a huge church. Of the big mass meetings of the people, not just students, but of the people. We're meeting at Brown Chapel.
Okay.
What are some of the big churches?
We got you got a Mason Temple. We have
Mason Temple was the one where Martin.
Yes, sir. Mississippi Boulevard Church, Baptist Church.
I know that. In fact,
let me see.
But Mississippi Avenue, I don't think was. We didn't have the same pastor, I think, then as now. But you wouldn't anyway. It's been 50 years minimum.
Nobody ever stirred in my mind. I guess I'm stunned in my memory or something like that. I'm trying to think of their names.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. I was trying to think of the name of the church, really. We met in one of the large churches, and the people really turned out. And as a result, it became a rather quick victory.
Wow.
A rather quick victory. But anyway, that was what I was going to tell you.
That's right. What about about Vincent Harding? You have anything about him at all? You like to say? Vincent Harding?
Oh, Vincent Harding was. I don't think Vince was there at that time. Vince and I came. Well, no, we were. In fact, when I met Vince, truthfully, when I met Vince, it was we were in Martin's first meeting outside of Montgomery, and where he went to. I'm trying to think of the name of the town, but it's in Albany. In Albany, that's where we went to Albany, and kids was arrested, and Martin had us to come down. At a few of us at that time, SCLC wasn't fully organized, but it was right after the victory in Montgomery, and so we go down, and people begin to organize, and the lawyers organize, and as I like to say, is they wouldn't let us in their law school. And one of the guys there, one of the lawyers, said they wouldn't let us in their law school, so we decided to go to Harvard and two or three other law schools he named, and said, and we taught them some law.
heard that.
Yeah, is it? But that was that, and but the person who led it and brought them all together was Marion.
Oh wow, that's amazing. And that's a story that needs to be told as well, because I know when I talk to black folks, I didn't know Marion Barry about the drug thing that happened with the FBI. Oh, some black folks outside of D.C. I mean, his real contribution.
Well, this is the thing that needs to be always done. You don't talk about your leadership negatively. You talk about them positively. Let
yes,
the enemy talk about them negatively. You talk about them positively.
Yes, sir.
All right, because yours is to encourage young people to do whatever they're going to do with great strength and insight, and to win the victories that are needed for our people.
I definitely agree with that. And also, I want to ask you just to clarify. I know I talked to you a couple of years ago about the Ernest Withers thing, with him being an FBI informant, and you gave some very Ernest Withers. And you gave some very insightful information, but you told me that there was a person on the SDLC payroll who was actually an informant. So I just want to clarify: was he Jim Harrison or James Harrison?
Well, no, he had nothing to do with that. Nobody in your town had anything to do with that.
Okay.
There was a fellow that was assisting the secretary, not secretary, is assisting the treasurer.
Oh, okay.
Abernathy was the treasurer at that time, right?
Okay.
And in fact, I'm going to look that up for myself and see if Abb's book, Abb's autobiography, has that in it. I was looking at it the other day, and I pulled it off the shelf, and since it's laying out on the other desk, I think I'll just do some this weekend looking at that. See if he's in there. But because I wasn't for certain who the fellow was, but he was he was telling the FBI everything that was happening, and he was in that office. And the good thing about his being in that office was they couldn't claim that he stole anything, because they knew every cent that came in, and so there was never any talk about, much less proof about our stealing any money.
Yeah, definitely. I know I read somewhere. I don't know. They said it was like I'm glad you clarified that, because I read somewhere. It was saying it was the itinerary secretary named James, the itinerary secretary for Dr. King, named James Jim Harrison, who was the informant or agent.
That's I think that's who it was.
Harrison, okay. But they called him the itinerary secretary. But you say he was assistant to the treasurer.
He was assistant to the what?
To the treasury secretary.
That's right. That's what it
okay.
See, Ab was treasurer. Abernathy was treasurer.
Okay, I'll make it sure, because I know they got him listed as the itinerary secretary. Not Abernathy, but the Harrison guy. He was itinerary, like he was responsible for the King's schedule.
Well, there's no such thing as an itinerary.
Okay. You can't believe everything you read.
Well, no, what I mean is, there's not a title. There's no title itinerary.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But anyway, they really did a good job in your town of organizing, and of course it's famous for I Am a Man, and famous for being able to organize the unions as well. I mean, you've had a lot of good things going over those few years. they all should be looked at.
Listen, Dr. Vivian, I remember you told me a couple of years ago when I talked to you, you said, when I used to come to Memphis, you used to think that Memphis was the capital of Mississippi or something. I was laughing about that.
Say that again?
You said when y'all came into town, into Memphis, y'all thought that Memphis was the capital of Mississippi.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, that's right. What it meant was that the finance, the money flowed down that 60-mile thing from Jackson into Memphis.
Yes, sir. I thought that was kind of, I appreciate that.
There's one thing for the cotton to be grown in Mississippi, but the money really came into Memphis.
Yes, sir.
In that sense, it became the capital of Mississippi.
I definitely agree with that because also I know I was reading a biography on Dr. T.I.M. Howard, and they talked about how the White Citizen Council frees the money for the activists who were business people in Mississippi, and they had to go to the Tri-State Bank. The NACP worked with the Tri-State Bank to provide loans and credit for the black activists in Mississippi, like Emsey Moore and people like that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So it makes sense what you're saying.
Yeah, it's all interesting, Doc. I'm going to have to get back to.
So thank you, Dr. Vivian. Yes, sir.
Oh no, yeah. Give me your name and number.
My name is Ron Hurd. Yes, sir.
Just a minute. Right?
Yes,
okay.
Sir. My name is Ron and Herd, like a herd of cattle.
Yeah.
HERD. And my phone number is 901.
9 what?
901.
Oh, 901.
Yes, sir. 29943 55.
Okay. I just thought I'd better ask. All right.
Yes, sir. It's good though. Yes, sir. Dr. Vivian, we love you, man. The words great to go and keep on producing and pushing. And thank you so much for your time and also for your contribution.
Okay, my friend.
Yes,
and I see you're right there with it, so stay right there with it, bro. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will. Thank you so much.
And teach all the young ones you can.
Yes, sir.
All right. See you then.
Yes, sir.